It has not been a good year for the NCAA. The allegations of corruption, improper benefits, sleazy coaching practices, covering up of heinous crimes, it's been one hit after another. I seriously didn't think any sport could look worse in the public eye than Roger Goodell's NFL, but the NCAA is trying its damnedest to be the most hated organization in American sports. I won't get into specific cases today, and I'm not even going to touch the Michigan State business. That's a powder keg I don't want to deal with here, and you already have your own opinions on it anyway. I'm going to take a look at a broader issue that's been brought up by seemingly everyone in the sports media world over the last few weeks. The idea that college football and basketball players should be paid. Now, I don't personally have a strong opinion on whether paying players should be allowed in and of itself. If it happens, I'm fine with it. And if it doesn't happen, I'm still fine with it. I love college sports and I will continue to love them. But if it is to happen, I feel it needs to happen in a certain way. And it's not the basic salary that most of the media figures seem to support. I've also seen a troubling amount of misinformation around this issue online, so I'd like to cover that and try to put an end to it. And finally, unlike many others currently chiming in on the issue, I actually was an NCAA athlete, and I believe I know better than most about how the system actually affects us in its current form and what the best solution would be. Everybody seems to have an opinion, and depending on what side of the argument you fall on, they're either poor young kids who have been given a free education by an excellent university out of the goodness of its own heart, or they are slaves brought in to make billions of dollars in revenue for a school that doesn't care about them, all while reaping none of the rewards. The truth is, neither of these are correct. The schools aren't benevolent, they want that cold hard cash. There are a ton of benefits to the system. Kids leave school debt-free in an era of crippling student loans and get into colleges that a lot wouldn't get into otherwise. And the kids aren't forced into the system. They can go play elsewhere. Emmanuel Mudiay did it. Brandon Jennings did it. No, they're more like hired guns, mercenaries, soldiers of fortune brought in by a mastermind to hunt for glory and treasure before moving on to their next job. First, let's address why some people want to pay the players and why the arguments are flawed. Number one, they don't have time to go out and get a job like the other kids because of practice and school. This is kind of accurate, at least from my own experience, but only really applicable to D1 athletes who play a major moneymaker sport. For a D1 wrestler or even a D2 quarterback, this isn't really the case. So do we pay D1 players and not D2 players? Do certain sports get salary and other ones don't? That doesn't seem fair. 2, they bring in billions of dollars to the athletic department. Again, accurate, but it doesn't paint the full story. Football and men's basketball draw most of the revenue. Swimming, tennis, even baseball and women's ball at most colleges, not bringing in big bucks. 3, most of the kids are from poor families, and they need the money. This is a great point, because the kids and their families often do need the money. It's no secret that a lot of college football and basketball stars come from inner-city backgrounds, but it ignores that many other athletes come from different backgrounds too. There are wrestlers from poor farm towns in Iowa. There are runners from rural Texas or inner-city Houston. Do these kids get money even though their sports don't make as much money? What about a guy like Josh Rosen? He grew up wealthy. Does he not get paid because he came from a rich background, even though he's the biggest star at UCLA? And this is the crux of the salary problem. It's inherently unfair. If only the big boys get paid, it's unfair to the players from less visible sports. If everybody gets paid, it's unfair to the big sports because they should be getting a bigger percentage. If only poor kids get paid, it's unfair to kids from different backgrounds. And let's not leave out the inevitable claims of gender bias it would cause because the men's sports do make more than the women's sports. And let's not forget the billion-dollar lie, that these schools are just pocketing the billions of dollars these kids bring in. This is total bullshit, and it's so easily disprovable that I'm amazed it's still a talking point. You may have seen Jim Boeheim's comments about the Syracuse athletic department and others barely breaking even. That's the truth. How do you think less visible sports like wrestling or swimming or track are funded? How do you think an athlete's scholarship money is funded? How do you think new facilities are funded? Of course, there is some money that trickles back down to the university, but I'd argue it's theirs to take. They put the teams together, they built the stadiums and the facilities. They deserve to see a return on investment. Here's the hard truth. A salary system for paying college athletes will never work, and it will actually cause more problems than it solves because it's inherently unequal. If only there was a system where players could monetize themselves based on their own contributions to the program. Oh wait, there totally is. Enough beating around the bush. Here's my solution. If I was named Supreme King of College Athletics, I would put a few simple plans into action. First, every player, regardless of sport, would get additional meal money to be used at on-campus restaurants and cafeterias. Second, I would make it legal for coaches to buy players' meals, as long as they can prove that that's all they bought. There's no reason a coach shouldn't be able to meet a blue-chip high school player and talk about his recruiting pitch over a burger and fries. Just keep the receipts handy come auditing time. Second, instead of salary, I would allow every player the ability to license their name and image to outside businesses if they so choose. This includes jersey sales, endorsements, commercials, all that good stuff. Salary? What are you, a communist? But seriously, this way is much better. For starters, a player like Baker Mayfield or Trae Young can now be worth what the market says they're worth, not just a given arbitrary number from the school. If McDonald's wants to pay Baker a few $1,000s to endorse the Big Mac, they're allowed. If Gatorade wants to get Trae Young in a commercial, that's totally fine. The school would get royalties from all of this, which they could put back into educational opportunities and internships for players who won't go to the pros, which is most of them. And each player's cut will be put into a trust that they can get access to when they either turn pro or graduate, whichever comes first. This money can serve as either a booster for the start of their post-college life, or as a fail-safe in case their pro career is unsuccessful. It's the best of both worlds. They can get money and endorsements while still officially remaining an amateur. And to keep the student and student athlete, the catch will be that you have to have a C average in order to do endorsements. No slacking off and coasting. Another benefit of this system is that anyone can use it. Sure, star players like Grayson Allen in basketball are among the most visible athletes, but if someone wants to pay Sidney McLaughlin or Grant Fisher or Dalton Guthrie, that's fine too. If you're good and you're marketable, they will buy. Annual audits would be conducted by outside parties to make sure all the money is where it's supposed to be and all the rules are being followed. And the best part of the system, NCAA football could come back, with names on the back of the jerseys this time because every single player would be receiving a little residual check for it. Listen, we all love college sports, but I think we can all agree the NCAA can and needs to get better. Sprinkling some good old American capitalism into the system would be a great start. And I think my plan makes the most sense all around, would give the best opportunities to the student athletes and to the schools to make the most money they can, and would satisfy everybody as the best compromise. What do you think of this plan? Do you think that college athletes should be able to license their image and make money off of it? Do you think that college athletes should be paid at all, or do you think that the scholarship is enough? I'd love to hear what you have to say in the old comment section below, and I'll see you next time on The Hard Truth.